Hello. As you know, we're living in an era of rising inequality. But one counter to rising inequality of income is to say that, in fact, inequality of income is not what is important. What is important is inequality of opportunity. Inequality of outcome is not what matters. It's inequality of opportunity that's important. It's whether people have the same chances when they start their lives. That's what matters. The idea behind inequality of opportunity is simple yet powerful. It is that not all inequalities are morally unjust. Let's think about the outcome of an individual, for an individual, being composed of two factors. The individual's circumstance, those things which are outside the control of the individual, and the individual's effort, those things which the individual himself or herself controls. It is then argued that policy which redistributes to address the differences which are caused by differences in circumstance is legitimate, morally legitimate, but policy which moves to redistribute outcomes which are the result of differential effort is not morally legitimate. So the difference between inequality of opportunity and inequality of outcome or income inequality seems to be very clear in this moral framework. But let me ask the following question. Can we in practice make such a clean separation between circumstance and effort, between inequality of outcome and inequality of opportunity? Of course, our outcomes depend upon our own efforts, but to a considerable extent they depend on other people's efforts also. For a child, for example, the outcome that a child has in terms of health, in terms of education, is almost entirely determined by the child's parents. So for the child, everything is circumstance and very little is effort. Inequality of opportunity, therefore, is 100% related to inequality of income of parents. Now, of course, as the child grows and as moves into adulthood, then more and more the child's efforts begin to be important. But of course, the child's peer group, the classmates, the teachers that the child has, so on, will also influence the child's outcomes irrespectively of what effort the child puts in. So even at that stage, it's clear that forces outside the child's control are extremely important. As we move into adulthood, luck becomes an extremely important determinant of outcomes. Luck to do with health outcomes, with finding a job. These things are extremely important in determining the outcomes for individuals. Now, of course, in some cases, individuals can, so to speak, make their own luck. But what philosophers call brute luck happens to all of us. We face health shocks, we face unemployment shocks. These things can be outside our own control. So certainly it can be argued that a large amount of luck, which determines outcomes, is outside the control of individuals. Like luck, individuals also have little control over their own talents. Presumably these were formed at some genetic level, coming to them from their parents. So the talent of a concert pianist, is not determined by that concert pianist, although of course the effort matters. But without the talent, the effort would not have a return at all. So if a large part of outcomes are determined by innate talents, it is not clear that it is morally just to allow individuals to keep that return to their innate talents. Thus, any attempt to make fine-grained distinctions between circumstance and effort, between opportunity and outcome, are bound to run into difficulty in any practical, policy-oriented way. In my view, what we should be doing is developing generalized social protection mechanisms to protect people against losses in income, against losses in health, and also to provide generalized high levels of education to the population as a whole. Surely this is a better strategy, and in doing so, of course, we might make what might be termed type 1 errors or type 2 errors. We might end up rewarding circumstance when we should not, and we might end up not rewarding effort when we should. But this is surely a far safer policy stance to take than to try to make very, very fine distinctions between inequality of opportunity and inequality of outcome. In an era of rising inequality, inequality of opportunity is indeed determined by inequality of income. and we should face up to that fact. Thank you.